All right, welcome guys. So what we're going to be looking at today is a gear review of the Gordon 12-piece emergency survival kit, and this is something that you can find for about $30 on Harbor Freight. We're just going to kind of look at all the different pieces I just pulled out of the box. Have not had any time behind this kit and I'm really testing it out, but I have had a lot of different experiences with similar products for a very long time in the survival industry. So we're just going to break it down, look at the pros and cons, and kind of wrap up with an overall of is it worth it or should you build your own kit. So let's go ahead and start right in. First off, we've got a folding knife over here. And as a folding knife, it has two extra attachments. One is a glass breaker, the other one being a seatbelt cutter. The knife itself is one of those Chinese folding blades that I would not trust to open up a cardboard box. But if it's the only blade you've got, it's better than nothing. So the only problem with this inherently, in my opinion, is as a survival knife, if you're actually looking to do any kind of real work in the survival realm, it should be a fixed blade. It should be a full tang, and it should be something that you can use and abuse and you never have to worry about it collapsing on you because it's a folding knife. All right, so this is inherent to be dangerous and injury prone if I start using this in either a throttle method or baton method and prepping up wood, etc., etc. So again, if this is the only thing you've got, hey, better than nothing. However, in terms of a survival use, I would not recommend that one. Then you got this one, and this is basically a spork little backup knife, maybe for gutting fish and prepping up small game combination, and it has a little sheath here to be able to protect yourself while you're using this to eat your MRE or whatever, and it's got a whistle on the back side. All right, whistles are a great idea as an auditory signal. Even whenever your voice is gone from shouting, you can still alert somebody within the local area. So a whistle is a good idea. Is a spork necessary for survival? Sure not. No, you can eat almost anything survival situation without this little tool, but it's a nice tool to have. And since it is got a backup little blade here, stainless steel. Again, if I were going to go out and pick a knife for survival uses, I would not pick this one. But as it stands, it's not a bad add-on. The only lighting source that this kit has is this single AA battery run LED that has the wide field of view shrinked up down to a single focal point with a lens that kind of guides that opening. I've worked with these lights many times in the past. It's probably the cheapest light you can ever find on the market. Does have a little bevel here as a contact point in case you need to destroy somebody, maybe hitting them on the side of the noggin or what have you. So that is value added. If it's your only lighting source, hey, it's better than nothing. But if you're going to go out and find a light, I would not pick this one. Ferro rod. So being able to start fires in a survival situation can be the difference between life and death. Signal fires, cooking food, preparing water by boiling it, etc. There's so many good uses for fire, and having a reliable way to do that by a ferrocerium rod and casting those sparks is tremendous. This is probably one of the best things in this kit. It's actually a decent ferro rod. It's not too small. I can start reliably at least several hundred sparks, which means several hundred fires that I can ignite if I prep it up right. This ferro rod is a great addition to this kit. One thing that's lacking from this kit is a man-made tinder. So as soon as you are ready to start your fire, this is not going to start any wood on fire. You need to have a tinder source to be able to catch your kindling, to be able to catch larger fuel. So this is a great addition, but without having some cotton balls and Vaseline, which would be a cheap addition if you want to do that yourself, it's not a great solution. You want to have some kind of natural tinder, or sorry, man-made. Then you have this guy. All right, this is kind of a cool idea because paracord, and I'm going to assume there's about 20 foot of paracord on here. This is not mil-spec, this is standard civilian version, so it's probably not actually rated for 550 working pounds. With that said, paracord has 1,001 different survival uses. The inner core in here, the 7 different strands, can be used for a multitude of uses as well. And so having paracord or some line that's reliable in your kit is a must in my book. This has got a funky little attachment here that can be used for sawing through little items. So hey, who knows, maybe that would be more of a restraint defeat if you actually needed it. You could hide that on your person. They would probably not just restrain you with this on your person because it looks like a survival item. You also have your backup whistle, which as a whistle, it's not too bad. It's actually better than the first one. You got a micro compass on here, which is helpful for discerning cardinal directions and can be enough to navigate off of if you know what you're doing. Here's a warning for anybody who's thinking about actually navigating off this. You want to check it first. I did check this one and it was tracking true. However, having gone through literally hundreds of these tiny little micro compasses, I've tested a lot of them, and 1 out of 5 or 10 will be inverted. So north is actually pointed south. And then a lot of the other ones will not actually track. It doesn't actually move the way it's supposed to. This one, however, was working well. It's got a backup tiny ferro rod right here. You'd be hard pressed to actually use that to get any sizable sparks, number one. And number two, you'd be having a hard time actually using it without destroying this clip. But if you're in a survival situation and somehow you lost that, you might be able to get something going with that. Maybe. It's a possibility, all right? So that's kind of a win, mostly because of the paracord. Okay, next thing up is this guy. This one had me scratching my head because as a survival guy, I have never used something like this. And the use is actually supposed to be for blowing on your fire if it's struggling and you need to get more oxygen. As such, I'm sure it would work. However, as an additional item to carry around, no matter how light, it just seems like a waste of space. Because honestly, if you set your fire up right, you should never have to blow on it. If you do, you should probably be fanning it, not blowing on it and adding more moisture. Okay, so out of principle, I would go against this. All right, I would not add it to it, even if I was building my own kit. Then we have a reasonably enough tactical pen, which does write. Has a backup glass breaker as an impact tool in emergency. You could use that as well. Having a pen is great. Having something like Write in the Rain paper inside the kit would also be better because you can only have so many notes on your hand, right? Then there's this, which is for retaining your water bottle on your person. And it's for people who somehow have a belt but no pockets. I don't know. I would probably never use this. Personally, I would not add it to a kit. It seems like a gimmicky, space wasting thing to me. Then you have a braided cable, which is useful for cutting through wood, cutting through different, you could use it cut through PVC pipe if you had to, or different kinds of restraints. This kind of thing is very valuable for its cutting potential, and if that's how much space and weight you want to give something that can saw through things, then that's a great solution. No problem with that at all. Personally, I don't like using them. I like using a saw, but I don't have a saw in my survival kit, so there you go. Here we got this guy right here, which is a multi-use item. It can do a lot of things, but nothing well. The only thing it's actually good for is popping open a beer bottle at the end of the day. So as a survival tool, probably wouldn't use that. But it does have a tiny little backup blade. That's the third blade in this kit. It's got a tiny little saw, which is trash. I've used these saws. If it's the only thing you got, use that instead. But in terms of packing that into a survival kit, not just keep it in your wallet, I would not do that. I would either replace this with a micro signal mirror, which is great for signaling purposes, or I would change it out for a Fresnel lens, which is a magnifying thing that can give you endless ignition sources or help actually read your map. So that's what I would swap that out with personally. Then you have this, which is your emergency blanket. So emergency blankets in survival situations can be a huge asset in either signaling purposes. As a signal panel, you can put it up as a flag to attract attention. You can use it for staving off hypothermia and not having as much heat loss from you in the ground. You can use it as a heat wall to actually redirect that heat into your shelter. A survival blanket is excellent to have. This is the smallest, lightest, and cheapest thing on the market as far as these go, but for the space and weight that they occupy, it's definitely a good thing to keep. As far as food procurement, the only thing that this kit has for that is your little bit of line for fishing, one little lure, and one small hook. Now, if I was packing this out myself, I would not waste my time with the line because you have 550. And if you're not using that inner core, you could either replace this with like 100-pound test Kevlar cordage, which is useful for abrading, tying down your shelter, a lot of other uses besides just fishing. So this is a single-use item. I would not just pack this, but if I was, I would want to make sure I have several different hooks. Lures, I don't feel like you need to carry that. You should be able to apprehend that in the environment and use that, but that's what's in this kit. And what it comes in is a waterproof container, which is fine if it's raining, but if it actually gets submerged, you guys see a little bit of that moisture inside of here, and that's because I just tested it out by submerging it for 30 seconds and got a lot of water in there. This also does not have a reasonable way to carry it on your person except stuffing it in your pack or your cargo pocket. These hooks here, you'd have to have some kind of way to jury rig that onto your person, but the question is for this kit, what do you need to have waterproofed? You really don't. Maybe this light would comp out if it got submerged. Most likely it would, Chinese technology. Everything else is going to be just fine if it gets wet. So this is not really necessary. Could be uncomfortable if you're carrying it in your pocket as opposed to a smooth kind of satchel or bag, but it is a small waterproof container. If you're going to use something like this though, what I would recommend is change it out for something like a Nalgene bottle, because that Nalgene now can contain your water, and it is a waterproof container about the same size. So as long as you can fit your items in and pull them out when you need to, now you can carry water. So let's think about what this kit is lacking. For $30, it's a decent kit. It's not the worst. If you're going to build your own kit though, you can make it so much better for not too much more money. And the top things that I would change out is, number one, having either a water container, but also probably just as important is some way to purify water. So maybe some iodine tabs or some bleach or something else like a life straw, so that you can actually collect and then use that water, or a single steel wall water container that you can boil water, right? All of that would be a huge addition to this kit. As far as the knife goes, this is fine to carry around in your pocket, but for actual survival uses, I would go with something as inexpensive but as reliable as like a Mora blade, which is a carbon steel blade that is full tang for $15, and you can use this in all the rough and tumble standard survival ways that you cannot with a folding blade. So change out the knife, add some water purification. Water container would be great. Add some man-made tinder like cotton balls and Vaseline, and boom, you got a decent enough kit. If you're going to build things out yourself though, all of these things can be acquired, better quality, and then you can suit it and tailor it for your own needs. So in a nutshell, would I recommend this kit? Maybe if you didn't have the experience to make it better, or you don't have the time or interest. If you do though, it doesn't take too much more to make a better kit, albeit probably for a little bit more money, but not extremely more. And as it is, it's fine, but it could probably use a few upgrades. So that's our thoughts on the Gordon 12-piece emergency survival kit. And just remember guys, that whenever you're setting up a kit, it should be suited for your location, your needs. Your most common application for needing to use that should be covering your 5 basic needs: communication, health, personal protection, sustenance, and travel. This is covering some of those, but not all of them. And so as long as it works for you and your conditions and your environment, that's really what you need at the end of the day. So thanks for watching guys. As always, just make sure that when it comes to the moment, you don't get to choose it, it's going to choose you, that finds you standing ready and being prepared.